O crescimento do PIB no segundo trimestre surpreendeu positivamente boa parte dos economistas brasileiros. Quem também está otimista com o desempenho da economia do país é Jim O'Neill, o criador do termo Bric e atualmente professor na Columbia University. Como é que o senhor vê o crescimento do PIB brasileiro daqui para frente?
You know, I don't follow the weekly or monthly data so closely anymore, given I've changed my life. But it seems to me the underlying trend rate of growth in Brazil probably hasn't changed much. So it wouldn't surprise me if Brazil got back to something closer to 4% growth quicker than people are saying.
Next year, maybe?
It could quite easily happen next year. I'm very reminded, and I did some research on it coming here, of what happened the last decade. And I joke about it. People at the time, when I created the acronym in 2001, people thought I was crazy. And then the next year they thought I was even crazier, because 2001, 2002, 2003, Brazilian growth was really weak. The average of those 3 years was 1.7. And so people are like, well, why? And of course we know that 2004 to 2010, they didn't do anything new. It's the same Brazil. So what happened is there's cycles. And so the same thing probably happened again, as far as I can see.
E a inflação, quanto te preocupa?
I'd have a bit of concern in the near term because the currency has fallen so quickly. But if you, again, as I tried to emphasize at the conference here, if you go back and you put it in a historical context, I think people should be more worried about some other issues than inflation. Brazilian inflation close to 6. You know, when you and I were growing up, it would be that on a daily basis.
Há grande debate hoje no Brasil sobre a questão fiscal. Qual que é a sua avaliação sobre isso?
Here I do tend to share the consensus view a bit more. It seems to me the government has been trying to do a China, as I call it, for too long. It worked in 2008 and 2009, which was very important because otherwise the global crisis could have really hurt Brazil. But they thought because it worked then, it can work always. But I don't think there is any evidence historically in most countries, including in China, by the way, that you can do that. So I think the government should embrace a more stringent fiscal policy.
Os mercados hoje estão se movimentando bastante em função apenas de expectativas de quando o Federal Reserve, o Banco Central americano, vai começar a retirar os seus estímulos monetários. Quando isso de fato acontecer, que tipo de efeito a gente pode ver, principalmente no que diz respeito a moedas?
I think the whole Fed tapering thing has been discussed so much that, is it 18th of September, I guess, the FOMC meeting, I think? It may be an anticlimax because the markets have talked about it ever since I stopped working at Goldman in April. It's gone on and on. I'm like, what is the matter with everybody? And importantly, I think the Fed will say, especially because the latest indicators are a bit softer, the Fed will say this doesn't mean we're going to do anything else in the near future. So I think it's kind of discounted.
Falando pouquinho sobre China, o senhor não parece muito preocupado com a desaceleração do crescimento chinês. Por outro lado, será que algum outro BRIC poderia se beneficiar dessa situação?
I think other developed countries clearly benefit because of the drop in commodity prices. For consumers in commodity importing countries, which includes much of the West, it's good news, and that might be why. Why is it that the UK, the US, Japan, Germany, even Portugal, Italy, all showing signs of recovery at the same time? It might be indirectly because China slowing takes pressure off commodity prices. So I think that's clear. Within the BRICS, it should be good for India because India is a big commodity importer. For Brazil and Russia, it's a challenge, and they have to get off the drug of 10% China.
Uma última pergunta. O senhor tem dinheiro pessoal investido no Brasil ou no México ou até em algum outro BRIC?
At the moment, no, I don't. I do in China. But in the other BRICS right now, no, I don't.
Why not?
I do sometimes. I've invested before in the real, and I've invested in Brazilian banks because I want to see I wanted to see better valuations, which we're now getting. Brazilian banks got to very high price to book levels, which is when I got out. But at some point, I probably will. You know, in my opinion, investing is all about valuation and expectations compared to consensus, and we're getting closer to the right levels.